Welcome to Prep Central, New Mexico's premier high school sports show. This show is presented by Western New Mexico University. If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as on all your favorite platforms like YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. We hope you'll consider that. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source. Hey everyone, welcome to Preps Central, the Albuquerque Journal's high school sports podcast. I'm James Yodice. I am the high school sports editor here at the Albuquerque Journal. We're going to wrap up prep football today. Hard to believe 15 weeks of season is over, so we're going to talk about that. First, of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Western New Mexico University. We appreciate their support for this podcast. So we only have one bit of football business left this year, which is the Red-Green All-Star Games, which are going to be in Artesia at Bulldog Bowl on this coming Saturday. The big school game will be at 3 o'clock. A good number of the top seniors from this season have committed to playing in this game. It will not include Cam Dyer, who was hurt for La Cueva. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it won't include Mason Posa, the linebacker from La Cueva, who's going to Wisconsin. Mason's already jumping into wrestling season. But having looked at the rosters, a majority of the top seniors from this last season are going to be competing in this game. So that ought to be a lot of fun. That includes Zayden Davis, the Centennial quarterback, and quite a few others. So if you want to go see one last bit of football this year, Bulldog Bowl, 3 p.m. Saturday. I'm thinking about going down myself just to watch. And then that's it for football activity until August. Now, in the meantime, we had all of our state championship games in the 11-man divisions this last weekend. So we're just gonna talk briefly about how things shook out at the end of the year. And we're gonna start, even though through most of these playoffs I've been working my way up from 2A to 6A. We're actually gonna start with 6A today. So Cleveland wins the 6A title 26-8 over La Cueva at Wilson Stadium. That is Cleveland's fourth state title in 5 calendar years, to go along with 2019, 2021, 2022, and this year. And Cleveland and La Cueva have combined for the last 6 state titles. So these two have gained just complete separation on everybody else right now. So a nice win for Cleveland. So we're going to start right at the top. Look, Cleveland played a fantastic game, especially on defense, but we can't talk about this game without talking about Cam Dyer, the La Cueva quarterback, who injured his right knee in the semifinal round against Las Cruces and was clearly not even close to 100% in the championship game. There is no way in any universe that Cleveland holds La Cueva to 8 points if Cam Dyer is healthy for this game. The big question, and the one that we'll never know the answer to, is how would this game have looked if Cam Dyer had been fully healthy and could do what he normally does? As I sit here and record today, it's Wednesday, December 4th. I actually spoke to Cam today. He had a signing ceremony at La Cueva to sign his national letter to go to Arizona State, and we were talking a little bit about Saturday, and look, he just could not push off when he ran the ball. If you remember last year, Cam's running ability, his big play ability with his legs killed Cleveland in the state final. Cam was not able to do that this last Saturday. Now, when he had room, he was able to run a little bit with some effectiveness, but he was not able to do his normal stop, start, cut, left, right kind of thing. And you could tell he was not nearly 100%. And he struggled to throw the ball too. You're talking about his right knee that's his plant leg. Cam struggled to throw the ball. He did not complete a pass to his own player until his 15th attempt on Saturday. And that was after he had already thrown 2 interceptions. So his passing was impacted, because Cam is a pretty decent passer too. His passing was impacted quite a bit, and his running certainly. So if we think about Cleveland's win, all credit to them. Cleveland played a fantastic game. And honestly, I was leaning Cleveland, and that would have been my pick even if Cam was healthy. But it's fair to ask and talk about how this game might have looked had Cam Dyer been at 100%. Cleveland scored the first 23 points of this game. It was a scoreless first quarter. The defenses were in control. Second quarter, Cleveland quarterback Jordan Hatch throws a touchdown to Angel Gallegos in the back of the end zone, makes it 7-0. Then Cleveland kind of pooches the kickoff in sort of into a vacancy on the La Cueva kick return team. Cleveland fell on the ball. This was not an onside kick. It was just a pooch, pretty much designed to keep the ball away from La Cueva's returners. So Cleveland ends up jumping on the ball. They could start the drive at the 28, and they end up scoring another touchdown with Juan Munoz scoring from the 1. So they scored 2 touchdowns in 1 minute and 10 seconds to go up 14-0. And with Cam compromised physically, that put La Cueva in a real hole. Cleveland kicked a field goal before the end of the half to go up 16-0. Third quarter, I think on the second play, there was a ball deflected by a La Cueva wide receiver, was intercepted by Cleveland's A.J. Manning. And about 4 plays after that, Cleveland ran a flea flicker, beautifully designed and executed flea flicker, ends up with Jordan Hatch throwing a 55-yard touchdown pass to Jacob Maldonado to make it 23-0. And you realize that was probably it for La Cueva. La Cueva did make it 23-8 at one point. And they were still hanging in there. If you remember back to their game in Flagstaff against Pinnacle High back in week 2, La Cueva was down 15 in the last 3 minutes of the game and scored 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to get to overtime, and they won the game in double overtime. So La Cueva was down 15 at one point, and you knew they were still of the belief that they could make up the difference. The offense just could not move it consistently enough against that Cleveland defense, which played a tremendous game. With or without a healthy Cam Dyer, Cleveland's defense played fantastic. So all credit to them. La Cueva was the number 1 team all season for a reason, and they were the number 1 seed, and deservedly so. I thought when the playoffs began, Cleveland was playing the best football of anyone, just as last year. I thought La Cueva was playing the best football of anyone as we started the playoffs. So sometimes it's a matter of finding your groove at the right time, and I think that's what Cleveland did. Look at the last 2 weeks of Cleveland's season. They beat undefeated Centennial, and they beat undefeated La Cueva by a combined score of 82-28. Just think about that for a minute. So this is a legit championship. I'm not suggesting it's not. I'm just saying that it's hard to know what would have happened if Cam had been fully healthy. That's all I'm saying. So congratulations to Cleveland. Again, 4th title in 5 calendar years, and boy, what a dynasty they have going there. So let's move along, and let's start talking about Class 5A. Roswell beat Artesia 41-22. That was at Wool Bowl in Roswell on Saturday to win the 5A title. Roswell had been stewing for a full year after they lost to Artesia the year before in the state championship game. So Roswell got a little bit of its payback. Strong performance on both sides of the ball by the Coyotes, especially on offense. This team replaced so many key players on offense between the end of the 2023 season and the start of the 2024 season. So Coach Jeff Lynn, who has his 3rd title now with Roswell, they won back-to-back titles in 2018 and 2019. Roswell had a fantastic season. Only 1 loss to Lovington early in that district season. And then Roswell came back with impressive wins over teams like Deming, Artesia, who they beat in the regular season 44-40. That was Roswell's first win in Artesia in about a quarter century. Roswell beat Mayfield in overtime near the end of the year. So Roswell was rolling as we started the playoffs. And on Saturday they scored like about 1 minute and 15 seconds into the game with a long run by their quarterback, Jacob Palomino, who was tremendous during the playoffs. He really was. Palomino threw, just in the first half, Palomino rushed for 3 scores, threw for another one, and, Roswell was up 28-15. At halftime, Artesia was really hampered because their starting quarterback, Isaac Cazares, went down on an injury, I think to his shoulder, on a sack, kind of in the late going in the first half, and he did not return. And Artesia was down 13 at half. That's recoverable if Cazares plays, but, Artesia, much like La Cueva with Cam Dyer, look, Artesia's dependent on their starting quarterback. That's the guy they've been fantastic with all year, who knows who knows his athletes on his offensive side, has timing with his receivers. So Artesia was always going to be really hamstrung to make up the difference in the second half with Isaac Cazares not in the game. So, whether he plays or not, I don't think, honestly, I don't think that would have mattered. Roswell's offense was having a tremendous amount of success. And I think Roswell wins the game either way. I don't think that's in doubt, but Artesia's ability to mount a comeback pretty much gone when Isaac Cazares goes out too. And he was having a good game. He rushed for a couple of early scores against that Roswell defense early on before Roswell started to get some separation. And of course, Artesia was going for a 33rd state championship, which would extend its state record. And Artesia's, I think, in the top 2 or 3 nationally in terms of number of state titles won in football. But Roswell was, after Artesia lost to Roswell in the regular season, Roswell had been the firm number 1 team in the state through the second half of the season. So the best team through the regular season was Roswell. Like I said, not necessarily counting that Lovington loss, but Roswell was the best team in 5A this year. They were the number 1 seed. In fact, almost all the number 1 seeds in the 7 football divisions, 6 number 1 seeds won state. That includes Logan in 6-man, Melrose in 8-man, Texaco in 2A, St. Mike's in 3A, Bloomfield in 4A, Roswell in 5A. Cleveland, as a 3 seed, was the only non-number 1 seed to win state this year. So all congratulations to Jeff Lynn and Roswell. Great season, 1-loss season as they beat Artesia. As we move into Class 4A, Bloomfield was undefeated, and they came into the game against St. Pius last weekend up in the Four Corners, playing the number 2 seeded Sartans. I wrote before the championship game that the only way St. Pius could have a chance in this game would be if they got this game into the 20s and kept it there against Bloomfield. The offense kind of held up that part of the bargain. St. Pius scored 22 points in the first half. In fact, the game was 22 all at halftime. St. Pius got an early safety, scored on the ensuing kickoff. St. Pius hit a couple of big plays, including a long touchdown pass from Isaiah Carpenter to Curtis Flakes III. So St. Pius was giving Bloomfield all it could handle in the first half. And they had the game where they wanted it. But look, Bloomfield had a high-powered offense. I knew the defense would probably come around, and Bloomfield ends up winning this game 62-28. Bloomfield had a big third quarter. I believe they outscored Pius 28-0, I believe, in that pivotal third quarter. And Pius just could not keep up. And there's no shame in that. Bloomfield was the best team in 4A all year. And St. Pius came in as the 2 seed. But Bloomfield finishes off a 12-0 season. They didn't play 13 games because their week 1 game got never really counted because of lightning. But, their quarterback, Blake Spencer, got things going from Bloomfield in the third quarter. He had a long touchdown run, 72 yards, I think, on a draw play. Spencer ran for almost 100 yards and 3 touchdowns, threw for another $150 and another score. And Bloomfield's running back, Peyton Duncan, probably one of the most underrated skill position guys in 4A in New Mexico. He rushed for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns and also caught a touchdown pass from Spencer. So Bloomfield finally gets separation on St. Pius. Now, the result of this game was not a surprise. I think St. Pius probably got more out of this than you might think. They played Bloomfield straight up for a half, and I thought Bloomfield was a considerable favorite in this game. So the closeness of the game at halftime caught me off guard a little bit. But ultimately, St. Pius, with these young skill kids like Curtis Flakes, like quarterback Isaiah Carpenter, receiver Cale Cox-Liggins, and their great running back Herschel Holloway Jr., this team's going to be back. I wrote the other day that I do believe St. Pius is going to win a state championship with this group. They might even win a couple of state championships with this group before they're through. All these kids who did so much damage this year as sophomores are going to be back as juniors. And if St. Pius can surround them with the right people, protecting Carpenter, blocking for Holloway, and come up with a good defense, I think St. Pius will start, in my opinion, next year as the favorite in 4A. No reason to think they wouldn't unless they have transfer issues or injury issues that come up between now and next August. St. Pius is going to be back in the finals. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I would not be surprised if they get back there both next year and the year after and maybe even win a couple of titles. They are that talented, and how they performed in the first half against Bloomfield is going to be something they take with them throughout the entire offseason. They know they can play with the best, and now when next year begins, St. Pius, people are going to look at St. Pius and say, maybe they are the best team out there. So I'm really interested to see how these young players for St. Pius continue to develop and how they build around them. But yeah, all credit to St. Pius. I back in the middle of the regular season, I wrote a column and I said that I thought that St. Pius was a year ahead of schedule and that they were fully equipped to make the state championship game this year, which they did. They got through their playoff bracket without too much incident. They beat Grants. They beat Espanola. They just came up against a team with a better, more veteran quarterback, a veteran offensive line, a really good running back, and an outstanding defense. And St. Pius put up 28 points on them. No other 4A team came close to that this whole season. I believe Piedra Vista in 6A put up 34 on Bloomfield early on. No other team in 4A even came close to the kind of offensive success that St. Pius had. So the Sartans have a lot to build on, and I think this loss last weekend will be great fuel for them going forward. So let's move into Class 3A now. St. Michael's goes back-to-back in Class 3A. They were undefeated this year, 13-0. They beat Dexter 28-26 at Ivanhead Stadium in Santa Fe, at Santa Fe High School last Saturday. And this was a game St. Mike's was in control of for a good long while. St. Mike's was up 22-8 and was at the Dexter 2-yard line looking to basically put the game away. They turned it over. Dexter went down the field and scored and got back in the game. They got it to 22-20. Late in the game, under 3 minutes left, Reed Bass from St. Mike's got intercepted by Dexter on a pick six. So Dexter goes up 26-22 with, 2:42 left in the game. So St. Mike's had about 2.5 minutes to work with to get a go-ahead touchdown, which they did eventually. Cole Sandoval, I think, on a 6-yard run with about 45 seconds left in the game. That was a game winner for St. Mike's. But on St. Mike's game-winning drive, they converted 2 fourth downs, including a 4th and 12 on the play right before the touchdown by Cole Sandoval. And they converted a long 3rd down as well. So St. Mike's consistently had to come up and summon big plays throughout that game-winning drive. You couldn't draw it up any better if you were a coach like Joey Fernandez for the Horsemen, who is now over 200 wins in his career with St. Mike's, to win it that dramatically. Dexter was undefeated itself. This was the only championship game that had 2 undefeated teams. And Dexter finishes 12-1. And boy, they were just a couple of minutes away, maybe just one defensive stop away on those 2 fourth downs on the game-winning drive from clinching the game themselves. So this by far turned out to be the best of the 5 11-man championship games. So all credit to St. Mike's. Boy, they just continue to set the standard in 3A. And one other note I should mention, these 2 teams, St. Michael's and Dexter, who play in the Class 3A division, both of them are 2A level by enrollment, and they both choose, which they have that right to do, they both choose to play up into 3A. So you're talking about 2 teams that could be in the 2A division dominating there. They chose to play up, and they both made it to the state final. I thought that was an interesting side note as well. So all congratulations to St. Mike's and to Dexter for a fantastic season. Last thing before we get out of here today, we're going to talk about Class 2A. The season started, of course, back in August. Texaco played Santa Rosa. Those 2 are pretty good rivals. And Texaco whipped Santa Rosa 50-0. When the season began, Santa Rosa was pretty new, had a lot of new faces in their lineup. And then the 2 schools ended up meeting again last Saturday in the 2A championship game. Number 1, Texaco. Number 2, Santa Rosa. Texaco beat them again 50-0. And matter of fact, this game ended, I think, early in the 4th quarter because of the 50-point mercy rule. Alex Fuentes, the terrific Wolverines running back, had 4 touchdowns. And Texaco, just a big physical team, just wore down everybody in their path throughout the year. They had, they had one really tough come from behind win against Eunice during the regular season. Other than that, they weren't pushed too hard by anybody. Multiple coaches told me, and I've mentioned this on this podcast before, multiple coaches told me that Texaco had an offensive line that was equal to most Class 6A programs. So 2A teams are not equipped to play against that kind of size. And Texaco just absolutely manhandled the Lions in the state final. Texaco finishes an undefeated season at 12-0. Their defense held Santa Rosa to 1 first down, is what Coach Bob Gilbreth told me after the game. So total domination on both sides of the ball. So we had a team that was clearly number one from start to finish, kind of like, a little bit like Roswell over the second half of the season in 5A and Bloomfield in 4A. So we had a number one seed clearly go out and dominate in the playoffs. So all congratulations to Texaco as they go back-to-back as well. So, St. Mike's went back-to-back and Texaco went back-to-back. Melrose and 8-Man went back-to-back as well. So that, boys and girls, will finish it for prep football for this year. As I said, the All-Star Game is coming up on Saturday at Bulldog Bowl in Artesia. I appreciate you following the football podcast throughout the year. I hope you will switch over and follow my basketball podcasts as we get into them. We'll start doing them pretty regularly at the start of the 2025 calendar year. I thank you for all your time and effort to watch, and we will see you again next August. Again, this is Prep Central. You can see us on abqjournal.com, any of your favorite platforms, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. And I thank you for watching very much. And we'll keep trying to make this a better podcast going forward starting next year. You all take care. Happy holidays.